Okay, it's time to get started with our word problem of the day. So get your whiteboards out or your paper and pencil. And what I want you to do is I want you to separate your board into two parts. So just a straight line down the middle. And on the top of one, I want you to write the word Lisa, the name Lisa. And on the other side, I want you to write the name Sally. And what I also want you to do is I want you to make a tens and ones frame on each side. Once you do that, we'll get started. Okay. So our problem of today is this. Lisa has 3 boxes of 10 crayons and 5 extra crayons. Sally has 19 crayons. Sally says she has more crayons. Lisa disagrees. Who is right? Well, what we need to do is something similar that we did yesterday. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try and figure out how many Lisa has, and then we're going to look at that and compare it to Sally's and say, which number is bigger? And Lisa says hers is bigger, Sally says hers is bigger. So we got to figure out who's right. So it said Lisa has 3 boxes with 10 crayons in each. So to me, that sounds like we have 3 groups of 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make some quick tens. I'm going to say, here's 1 box, 2 boxes, 3 boxes of crayons. Now, we have to make our ones because she said there's 5 extras. Well, we know that's not 10, so we have to just write them individually. So we're going to write them out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So if we look at our tens and our ones, I have 1, 2, 3 tens. Put your 3 down in your tens and ones frame. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. So if I put 3 tens and 5 ones, I think she has 35 crayons. But let's count it. And remember, as we count, we start counting by tens and then we switch it up and we start counting by ones. So we have 10, 20, 30. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. 35 crayons. Okay? Now, Sally says she has 19 crayons. Now, I want you to draw 19. So 19 is going to be 10. And then we're going to draw 9 ones. So go ahead and draw your 9 ones as I do it here. But make sure you do it in an organized way. You don't want to just scatter them all over, because you want to make sure that you actually drew 9 of them. And sometimes you can get a little mixed up if you're just drawing them all over the place. So once you've done that, we need to count how many we have. So we have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So I have 1 10 and I have 9 ones. Now, can you tell who has more? Lisa has 35, Sally has 19. If you said Lisa has more, you would be right because 35 is a bigger number than 19. Now, if you weren't sure, this is what I want you to do. When you're looking at a number, you're going to look, in this case it's a 2-digit number, you're going to look at the tens first. It's almost like when you read a book from left to right. So in this case, you're going to look from left to right. So I'm going to look at the digit in my tens. So I have a 3 here, and I only have a 1 here. Well, what's bigger, 3 or 1? Obviously 3 is bigger. So 35 is going to be bigger than 19. So if you said Lisa, you were correct. Now we're going to be counting some coins. Today what we're going to do is we're going to look at some dimes, and we're going to look at pennies. We know that the dime is worth 10 cents and the penny is worth 1 cent. Can you figure out why I chose these two? That's right, because we've been working with tens and ones. So the dimes are going to be like our tens and the pennies are going to be like our ones. And I want us to be able to count these coins together. So here we go. So we have, in this case, I'm going to put some pennies and I'm going to put some dimes in front of me. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them out so that it's easy for me to count. In this case, I put them in a straight line, okay? And I'm going to start with my dimes and I'm going to go on to my pennies. But be careful because they're not all tens. We start counting by tens, but then we have to switch it to our ones. So let's do this. 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So we have 25 cents. And if I was going to do that in tens and ones, I have 2 tens and 5 ones. So let's make it a little different. Let's add some more coins. So now this time I have 4 dimes, but let's see how many pennies I have. And you'll notice I'm going to set them up almost like a 10 frame with my pennies, because I want to make sure that it's organized enough for me to not get confused on my counting. So here we go. We're going to count by tens, and then we're going to go on to count by ones. 10, 20, 30, 40. Now it switches. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. So we have 48 cents. 48 cents, we could also say, is 4 tens and 8 ones. So do you see how it ties all together? So the other day we took a look at the number 34. And what we decided was there were 3 tens and 4 ones. What we also noticed is we could look at it like this. We could say that there are 34 ones, which is the same as 3 tens and 4 ones, which is the number 34. So today we're going to look at it even more different than we did the other day. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this using dimes and pennies. So again, we have our regular tens and ones frame. So we have 3 tens, 4 ones. Now, what we have here are dimes and pennies. So take a good close look. We have dimes and pennies. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to count them and make sure that we have 34 cents. So we have 10, 20, 30. Now we have to switch it to the ones. 31, 32, 33, 34. So I have 34 cents. Now, all I did was create another tens and ones frame, but you'll notice that instead of saying tens and ones, I put dimes and pennies. And the reason I did that was so that you understood that dimes are the same as tens and ones are the same as the pennies. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to practice doing 10 more and 1 more, and then 10 less and 1 less, but we're going to be using dimes and pennies to do that. Okay? So let's take a look here at what we have. So you'll notice my fancy drawings because, I'm an expert artist here. But what I did was I made dimes and pennies, and I labeled them D for dime, P for penny, just so you knew what they were. Okay? So this says plus 10 or 10 more than 34. So I have my 34 here, my 3 dimes and my 4 pennies. So how do I do 10 more? That's what I want to know. How do I do 10 more? Well, you're right. What I'm going to do is I need to add another dime because we know the dimes are worth 10. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another dime here. So I added my dime, and now how many dimes do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 dimes. Did my pennies change? Now remember, if I'm adding 10 to it, my tens, or in this case my dimes, are the only thing that's going to change. My pennies or my ones stay exactly the same. So I still have 4 pennies. So my answer is 44. And if I count it, 10, 20, 30, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. I have 44 cents. So 10 more than 34 is 44. Now, let's take a peek at the bottom one, plus 1. So plus 1 says, or it should say 1 more than 34. So what do I need to do? I still have my 3 dimes and my 4 pennies. Am I going to do anything with these dimes? Correct. We don't do anything with the dimes. And the reason we don't is because those are our tens. It said add 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 1 more penny like this. Okay? So there's your penny right here. So now, did my dimes change? Nope, I have 3 dimes. But now how many pennies do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pennies. So my answer is 1 more than 34 is 35. And that's how you do the plus 10 and the plus 1. Now, what happens when we have to take 1 away? Well, let's take a look. So again, I have my 34, my 3 dimes and my 4 pennies. Now, this one says minus 10 or 10 less than 34. So what do you think you need to do? If you said cross out one of the dimes, you're absolutely right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cross out one of the dimes, and let's see what I'm left with. Looks like I'm left with 2 dimes. And again, my pennies are not changing because I'm not dealing with the ones. I'm only dealing with the tens, which are the dimes. So 2 dimes and 4 pennies is 24. 24 is 10 less than 34. And then let's look at our minus 1, which is 1 less than 34. Okay? So again, are my dimes changing? Not at all. So I can actually go ahead and put the 3 in my dimes because I know that's staying the same. But what I do need to do is I need to cross off one of the pennies because I need 1 less. So I'm going to cross off one of the pennies. Now I'm left with 1, 2, 3 pennies. So I think my answer is 33, but let's check. 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33. So 33 is 1 less than 34. And that's how you do it. And that's what your assignment's going to be for today. So let's take a look at your assignment. And we're going to do the first problem on the first page and then go to a different problem on the second. So you need to open up your workbooks to page 20, which looks like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at problem number 3, I believe it is. Let's see here. Yes, problem number 3 we're going to do. Now, the reason I chose this one is because it has to do with pennies and dimes. So it should look something like this. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how much 3 tens and 5 ones is. And I want to show you a little something. I added a T over the dimes and an O over the pennies so that you would remember that these are your tens and these are your ones. So you might want to do that just as a reminder. Then what we're going to do is, in this case, we're going to find out how much is this worth. So I have 3 dimes and 5 pennies. So if I fill in my tens and ones frame, I have 3 dimes and 5 pennies, so 35. Now, I want to show you something. Let's count it. 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. When I write 35 cents, though, this is how I write it. I'm just going to put it down here, 35, and then I put a C with a line through it, like that. That's what 35 cents looks like. So that's what problem number 3 is going to look like on page 20. I want you to finish the rest of that page. Now, if we turn to page 21, which looks like this time we're going to do problem number 11. Okay, so this is problem 11. And problem 11 says 10 more than 30 is blank. So it shows me a picture of 3 dimes. So what do you think you need to do? If you said draw another dime, you're absolutely right because we're only dealing with tens, 10 more. So I'm going to draw myself another circle. You don't have to get fancy. And put a D in the middle if it reminds you that it's a dime. So now I have to count it. 10, 20, 30, 40. And if I fill in my tens and ones frame, which I want you to do, there's plenty of space for you to draw a small tens and ones frame. Let's fill that in. We know we have 4 dimes and there's no pennies. And that is the number 40. So you can fill in the empty blank. So 10 more than 30 is 40. And that's how you're going to complete that page. So your assignment for today is page 20 and 21, and the optional pages are going to be page 19 and page 22. Let me know if there's any problems, and once again, make sure that your parents send us pictures of it.